Hello everyone, welcome back. Today is our last trade deadline recap video. We're looking at the last 6 deals of the trade deadline, including seeing a couple of monsters involving Toronto, Carolina, and Ottawa. We'll get to all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the End-to-End Hockey channel. And before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. Would never do without you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so we can all discuss in today's video. So in today's video, we've got another trade deadline recap video here to discuss. If you haven't already, check out my trade deadline live video. It's in the live tab on my channel, so don't forget to check that out. We touched on most of these trades during that trade deadline live stream. There were a couple that trickled down afterwards, which is why I'm doing this video today. So in today's video, we got 6 trades to talk about. We're going to start off with the 2 that involved the Carolina Hurricanes. The first one was a rather small one. The trades as follows. The Carolina Hurricanes acquired Mark Jankowski from the Nashville Predators for a 2026 5th round pick, own Carolina Hurricanes picks. So this is an interesting swap here from these two sides. For the Predators, saw an opportunity to get a solid prospect for a decent depth forward. Jankowski is 30 years old. He's in the first year of a 2-year deal, making under $1 million. So they saw that as some sort of value they could get. Turned into a 5th round pick. Not sure how high or low that will be. It's next year's draft, not this year. So Carolina might be a good team at that point. They might regress a little bit. So not exactly sure how that 5th round pick is going to be, but at least it goes to Nashville and it helps their draft capital. For the Hurricanes, they got a decent pickup here. Some more bomb 6 help in that team. So like I said, Jankowski, 30 years old. He signed for this year and next year at only $800,000. So it's not going to be just a pure rental. He's going to be able to help their bomb 6 for next year too. He only had 9 points as of the trade after having double digits in each of the last 2 seasons. Hasn't gotten into a whole bunch of games this year due to the fact that he's been healthy scratched a couple of times. But I think this is a really good pickup there for the Hurricanes. And his first game in Carolina already had 2 goals. So really good stuff there from Mark Jankowski. And I think he should be able to grow and be a very fantastic, most likely 4th line forward on that team going forward. So interesting note there. The Canes get some forward depth by adding Mark Jankowski, and the Preds get a 5th round pick in return. So interesting note there. Then we saw a massive blockbuster deal, the second deal this year involving Mikko Rantanen, and the trade is as follows. The Dallas Stars acquired Mikko Rantanen as full $4.125 million cap or whatever it was after the Hurricanes acquired him from Colorado from the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for Logan Stankoven, a conditional 1st round pick in 2026, a 3rd round pick in 2027, a 3rd round pick in 2026, and a conditional 1st round pick in 2028. It's a massive haul for the Hurricanes. It doesn't really help them for this year. Like, they get Stankoven, who could probably help them, but they didn't flip those 1st round picks or anything. So a little bit confused as to why the Hurricanes would make this deal. But for the Stars, really good pickup there. After making this deal, they also signed Mikko Rantanen. He gets an 8-year contract extension with an AAV of $12 million. Now, Dallas is a no-tax state, so he's able to get a little bit more money, even though he signs for a little bit less than maybe he was in like Carolina or Colorado. But I think this is a really good pickup there for Stars. So Rantanen will not only be here for this year, but for 8 more seasons. $12 million for what he was asking is actually a pretty good steal for the Dallas Stars. He signed for this year now and the next 8 seasons, so really good stuff there for Dallas. Rantanen already has 2 goals and 3 points in 2 games with Dallas after already playing over the weekend. On top of that, he's already surpassed the 70-point plateau, so interesting note there. Like, I think he'll hit the 90-point plateau as well for the 4th straight year. We'll have to see if he hits 100. And I also think he'll hit the 40-goal plateau for the 3rd consecutive year. So Rantanen's still a really high elite player, one of the top 10, maybe 15 players in the NHL. So this is a really good pickup there for the Stars. For a team that's already so deep, getting Rantanen is an absolute steal for the Dallas Stars. So interesting note there, but Dallas does sign Mikko Rantanen to a long-term deal, and they're able to pick him up, which is, I think, going to help this top 6. Like, put Rantanen with guys like Johnston, Hintz, Robertson. You got yourself a lethal top 6. So really pick up there for Dallas. For the Hurricanes, they get a couple of interesting pieces here. First, they get Logan Stankoven. Stankoven's only 22 years old. He's a center, can also play wing. He's a very skilled guy. Has put up a career high 9 goals and 29 points in 59 games with Dallas before putting up a goal in his first game in Carolina colors. So he's already up to 10 goals and 30 points this year, which is really good. He's only going to get better. I think his ceiling is like a 60, 70 point player. So long term, this is going to be a really fantastic pickup there for the Hurricanes. Like, Stankoven, I think, could be a really solid guy. He's got this year and next year on his ELC. Then he's getting a new contract, but Stankoven's going to be a fantastic middle 6 2026 edition there for the Hurricanes. So I really do like this deal, and he's on the younger side of things, so that could help them with adding some more use to this team, adding another guy to help play with guys like Jarvis, Aho, Svechnikov. They also get 4 draft picks. They get 2026 conditional first round pick. It's top 10 protected. If it's inside the top 10, it'll shift to 2027. If it's outside top 10, then the Hurricanes will get the Stars 2026 first rounder. They also get a top 10 protected 2028 first rounder. Same thing. If it's in the top 10, then Carolina will get an unprotected 2029 first rounder from Dallas. If it's outside of top 10, they'll get the 2028 first rounder. So they will get 2 first round picks, whether that's 2026, 2027, or 2028, 2029. We'll have to wait and see. And they get a third round pick in both 2026 and 2027. So like pick wise, this is going to be a really solid haul. It's a third round pick in next year's draft, most likely a first round pick in next year's draft, a third round pick in 2027, and a first round pick in 2028. So I really do like the haul. Like for the amount of draft picks they're able to get, it's a really solid value, especially when you add Stankoven in, but it doesn't help them for this year. I do think that the Stars do win this deal because even though they give up 2 first round picks in Stankoven, I do think Rantanen being added to that top end is going to be really good for the Stars. I do think it's a little bit more of a baffling move from the Hurricanes, but interesting note there that Rantanen has found a new home in the Dallas Stars organization for not this year, but for a long period of time. So interesting note there. Next, going over to 2 trade deadline deals we saw the Ottawa Senators make. And the first one was a trade as follows. The Ottawa Senators acquired Fabian Zetterlund, Tristan Robbins, and the Sharks 2025 4th round pick from the Ottawa Senators in exchange for Zach Ostapchuk, Noah Gregor, and a 2025 2nd round pick. For the Sharks, it's a little bit more of a confusing move. Zetterlund has been one of the top forwards over the past 2 years in San Jose. He's on the younger side of things too, so to see him get moved is a little bit confusing. But they also move off Tristan Robbins, who's been an AHL player for the past couple of years, and a 4th round pick in this year's draft. In exchange, to get a 2nd round pick in this year's draft, so they move up a couple of spots. Instead of having a high 4th round pick, they have a maybe mid to high level 2nd round pick, so interesting note there. They also get Noah Gregor. Gregor has been a long-time San Jose Sharks player. The past couple of seasons, he's been bouncing around the Ontario teams, but he's now back in San Jose, where he put up some of his better career numbers over the past couple of years. I think he had like 25, 30 points like 3 or 4 years ago, so I think it's a really pick up there for the Sharks. He's more of a veteran guy at this point in time, should play in their top 9, and I think should be able to showcase himself a little bit for a new contract because he is in the final year of his deal. So interesting note there, but that's a really good pickup there for the Sharks, who can help him right now. They also get young forward Zach Ostapchuk. Ostapchuk has got this year and next year off on CLC at an $825,000 cap hit. He's 21 years old. He was playing in his first career full NHL season, had a goal and 4 points in 43 games for the Ottawa Senators. So his first full NHL season is looking pretty good. I think long term he should be a solid top 9 forward there for the Sharks. Guy who can lay the body and put you up some points as well. So he's still on the younger side of things, so I wouldn't expect him to be a huge contributor right now, but in a year or two time, he'll be a very fantastic top 9 forward there. For Senators, as much as it does pain them to lose Ostapchuk in a 2nd round pick for this year, they're not in win now mode, but they do want to try and make the playoffs this year, so these moves will help them try and push for that. They get Tristan Robbins, who has a couple of games of NHL experience, but has basically been an AHL forward his entire career. Had 14 points in 41 games this year after having 14 points in 42 AHL games last year, so AHL player might eventually be able to work out into like a bomb 6 role for the Senators, but I wouldn't expect him to be any more than maybe like a bomb 6 forward, maybe a 4th line guy. So interesting note there, they pick him up. Like we said, they pick up a 2025 4th round pick, so it will be a high 4th round pick with it being the Sharks, but they do give up a 2nd round pick in return, so it's a little bit of a downgrade, but not too much. And they get a prize guy in Fabian Zetterlund. Now, Zetterlund is actually having a couple of really solid seasons over in San Jose. Now, he was the key part of the Timo Meier trade. It was a 1st round pick with a couple of decent prospects, and one of those really big prospects was Zetterlund. Last year had a career high 24 goals and 44 points in 82 games, which was by far his best season at NHL level. So far this year had 17 goals and 36 points in 64 games with the San Jose Sharks. He looked fantastic there for the Sharks. I was not expecting him to get dealt. Like Rantanen was 4th on my trade list. I was expecting him to get dealt. I didn't put Zetterlund on my trade list because I didn't think he was going to get dealt, but he does here. He's got 17 goals. He's probably on his way to another 20 goal season. So he looks like a really fantastic prospect. He'll be an RFA this year, so he he will need a new deal. But I do think if the Senators can make that work, he should be a fantastic goal-scoring second or third line forward going forward. So this is a really solid steal here for Ottawa. As much as I do think losing Ostapchuk and a second-round pick is bad, I do think Ottawa wins this deal because I do think Zetterlund's potential is really high after coming off a 24-goal season. So interesting note there, but I do think Ottawa wins that deal. Then we saw another blockbuster deal between the Senators and the Sabres. Talked about this heavily on my trade deadline live video, and that was involving Josh Norris and Dylan Cozens. And the trade is as follows: as Josh Norris and Jacob Menard-Docker were traded by Ottawa to Buffalo for Dylan Cozens, Dennis Gilbert, and a 2026 second-round pick. This is a massive deal for both sides. For the Sabres, they get Josh Norris. He's a little bit older and a little more expensive than Dylan Cozens, but he's also a little bit more proven at the NHL level. He's played in the NHL level the past couple of seasons. Like 3 years ago, just before he signed his long-term extension, had a 35-goal, 55-point season. After that, had a whole bunch of injuries that's kept him out for quite a bit of time. This year is his first season back over 30 points and over 20 goals in quite some time. He's a really good player there. I think he should be a really solid second-line center there for the Sabres, just behind Tage Thompson. So I think that's a really good pickup there for the Sabres. He's signed for a long period of time too, almost $8 million. So really good pickup there for the Sabres as they get a solid second-line center. They also got Jacob Menard-Docker, who coming off his best season to date last year. This year only got into I think like 25-30 games before he suffered an injury. He's been out for quite some time. He should be able to get back in the not distant future if he hasn't already. He's only 24 years old. He'll be an RFA at the end of the deal. He's a right side defenseman, which is something the Sabres do not have much of. And I think as peak could be a solid like 20-25 point defenseman for the Sabres, maybe playing a little more of a defensive style game. So interesting note there, but the Sabres do get Menard-Docker or Norris. Senators, they get Dennis Gilbert, who is not going to put you up a whole bunch of points, can play between like 30 and 50 games a season. Is mostly a seventh defenseman, but can play on the third pair if need be. Has actually had a pretty good season this year. I think he has like 4 assists in 25 games. So really serviceable third pair guy, veteran type leader, who should be a really good guy on that Senators blue line. The Senators also get Dylan Cozens. Cozens is not having an overly great season. I think he only has like 11 goals and 20 points, which is nowhere near the 18-goal, 47-point season he had just 2 years ago. But he is on the younger side of things. He's a little bit cheaper than Norris. He's a year younger than Norris. He has the potential to be a very good playmaking second-line center in the Ottawa Senators organization. So I really do like this pickup there from Ottawa. I think Cozens will fit in long-term with that Senators team, and he also has the potential to really help them during this playoff push right now. And the Senators also get a second-round pick in 2026. It's going to be next year. Not sure what the sales will look like next year, but they do get some more draft capital by adding that second-round pick. So interesting note there. I do think that the Sabres win this deal because I do think Norris is a little bit more established right now, and Jacob Menard-Docker is a really good young defenseman. But I do think long-term, if Cozens does really well, if Gilbert can produce some really good stuff this year, and if that second-round pick helps them, I do think that could be a really good pickup there for the Senators. So interesting note there, but that was a blockbuster deal that gave the Sabres Norris and the Senators Cozens. So interesting note there. Then we saw another massive move between two Eastern teams. It's the Flyers and the Leafs, and it was with another player who was on my trade bait list. Like Norris and Cozens were both on my trade bait list. Norris was I think 28th. Cozens was I think 10th. Another guy who was on my trade bait list and also got moved was number 6 Scott Laughton, and it trades as follows. The Philadelphia Flyers deal Scott Laughton with 50% of his contract retained, so at a $1.5 million cap hit, along with the 2025 4th and 2027 6th round pick to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for a conditional 2027 first round pick and Nikita Grebenkin. Now, this is a really good trade here for both sides. For the Leafs side of things, Grebenkin has been one of their lower end prospects, like a B-level prospect, so wasn't one of their top level guys. I think they'd be open to moving him. It's a first round pick 2 years down the road. Not sure what the Leafs are going to be doing at that point, so they can definitely let that go. They get a little bit more draft capital, although it's lower end, so it's a 4th round pick in this year's draft, a 6th round pick in 2027. So it's going to be a little bit lower end than a first round pick, but still, it's the least getting draft capital back. They did wind up flipping that 2025 4th round pick in a later deal that we already discussed, so they do get a 6th round pick, but they get Scott Laughton. Laughton can play center, he can play wing, he can play on the second line, he can play on the third line. Very versatile guy. Someone the Leafs have been in on for quite some time. Like, I know that the Leafs were linked to him back before Laughton signed his current contract. So he's 30 years old. He signed for this year and next year now, only a $1.5 million cap hit for what he brings. That's very fantastic value there for the Leafs. I think he should fit in on like the third line, second line, and he has that playoff style game that I think a lot of teams really do love. So I do think Laughton will be a really good addition there to the middle six for the Leafs. When it comes to the Flyer side of things, there's a lot of talk about Laughton potentially being moved, so they do wind up flipping him. He was 6th on my trade bait list. They also move a couple of lower end picks, but they get a couple really good pieces here. They get Grebenkin, who has played in 7 NHL games this year, has no points when the Leafs were running into some injuries. Also has 21 points, including 12 goals in 39 games at the NHL level in his first pro season after coming over from the KHL last year. So really good stuff there. Grebenkin looks like he could eventually be a solid top 9 forward. So I do think that the Flyers got a pretty good player here. And they also get a 2027 first round pick. Now that pick is top 10 protected, so it's not a guarantee that's going to be the 2027. It could be a 2028 first rounder, but if that 2027 first round pick is outside top 10, most likely it will be. The Flyers will get a first round pick from the Toronto Maple Leafs. So interesting note there, but the Leafs do wind up trading a first round pick and Grebenkin to get Scott Laughton, which is that sort of player that the Leafs are looking for. And the last trade we saw on trade deadline day was between the Leafs and the Minnesota Wild, and the trade is as follows. It's quite a simple one. The Toronto Maple Leafs acquire Resse Johnson from Minnesota for future consideration. So I guess the Wild just wanted to give Johnson a fresh start, traded him to Toronto. Most likely he'll be an AHL player in Toronto. He has 3 games of NHL action this year, so I think there's a very likely chance he'll probably be buried in the AHL. And if they run into some injuries, could very well be a depth call-up option there for Toronto. Like, he can play center, he can play wing, very versatile guy, but it has been over the past couple of years mostly an AHL guy. So interesting note there, but at least we get some more forward depth by acquiring Resse Johnson from Minnesota for basically nothing. So interesting note there. That's all the trades I'm going to talk about. It wraps up our 2025 trade deadline recap videos. The next few videos I'll be doing is more towards the future, like game recaps, and also just grading how the teams did at the trade deadline. But definitely don't forget to stay tuned for that. Don't forget to stay tuned for our power rankings video, and keep up to date with all the videos that are going to be coming out over the next couple of days. But that's all I'm going to talk for today. Let your guys' thoughts on who you think won these trades down in the comment section below. Remember to like this video. If you'd like to subscribe down below. Think about your support when I to with you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button. It really does help with the channel. And don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so listen to all discussed in today's video. I also have a blog, comment news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So check that out. I'll link to that down in the description below. And can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.